God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can feel the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Welcome. So glad you're joining us here today on Virtual Angels Landing. We're here on Zoom and Facebook Live, and we also are doing, we have a YouTube channel. So if you would like to re-watch one of the many talks that we have, just go on our website at www.angelslandingspiritualcenter.com and go under Sunday service and click on the YouTube channel. Excuse me, the YouTube channel, and you can rewatch any of our talks. Coming together here today, we create a collective divine heartbeat. May we who gather receive the nutrients needed to grow and recognize the divine mystery within. May we experience the reflection of divine love in each other and in ourselves. May our circle always be sacred, honoring the healing, teaching, receiving, and growing of each spirit that enters. May the truth always abide, and peace always bless us. Please join me now in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not in temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen.
This is actually a sing-along, so we invite you to sing from your living rooms or wherever you're sitting. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. I hold you in my heart. You are my family. You are the face of God. You are the face of God. I hold you in my heart. You are a part of me. You are the face of God.
Thank you, Lori and John. That was beautiful. Perfect opening for today's talk. So you are the face of God, and you are the face of love, and we are all one. And so as we create this sacred circle that Melinda gave us the beautiful words for, we hold each other in this very nurturing space to really acknowledge and see the truth of being one another, being a reflection of one another, But today we're really going to dive deep into ourselves, into being the face of God and the face of love, and recognizing that in our third chakra, we have our own oneness and our own honoring to do. Okay, so I found a beautiful quote I loved by Georgia O'Keeffe. She said, "Whether you succeed or not is irrelevant. There is no such thing. Making your unknown known is the important thing." So that's what this journey has been. And if you're just tuning in today, we have recordings from the last few weeks, but we're working through the chakra system and looking at how we can spiritually transform ourselves through acknowledging and learning about and aligning our chakras in a spiritual way, in a sacred way, a little bit different than just the mind way, but actually our spiritual way of transforming. And so what Georgia O'Keeffe says in that quote is so important, that making your unknown known is the important thing. And so we're uncovering the unknown, and that's what this journey is. No matter where the journey is happening, and no matter how we're uncovering it, or through what words or what system or what author we might be reading or what videos we might be watching, we're all seeking something, and we're seeking to make that unknown known to us. We're asking God to be known to us. We're trying to, with great courage, look at our own reflection of divinity and see ourselves through that spiritual lens, rather than through all the shame and regret and judgment that we have. And today we're going to do that journey with ourselves in exploring the third chakra. And this is the hardest one to kind of keep in alignment, because we are our own worst enemies. And so we tend to, first chakra was about tribe, was about survival, was about rooting. Second chakra was about our relationship with others, one-on-one relationships, and how that affects us. And we can look at a lot of deep things there. But today we're looking at ourselves. And this is a tough one. So I encourage you to really, that raw truth piece is very important today. That brings me to just kind of, let's retouch, let's get in touch again, the overview of our new framework, our new beliefs that we're trying to enter into this work with, so that we can really start the healing inside of ourselves, so that that can go outside into our relationships, our community, and the whole world. But we have to start here. So with that spiritual transformation, we need to recognize as the task of the soul, not the mind, but the soul, okay? So we're doing this work with our soul. And that feels a little bit different than doing it with our minds, because in our minds, we're in our frontal lobe and we're trying to figure it all out. And that's good. That can be very good. But we really need that higher transition, that higher transformation that comes, as Dr. Goodall taught us, from the cerebellum. So we want to move that energy back into here today. Okay. The Native Americans have this beautiful way of teaching peripheral vision when they learn how to hunt, or when they learn how to be in the wild and nature. Obviously, probably less so in today's culture, but this is the way the tradition and the wisdom always came through. So they would teach you to see with your eyes from the back of your head. And this is not teachers' eyes in the back of their head where they can see everything going on around them. We're looking forward, but we're looking from the cerebellum. We're looking from the soulful spiritual place that everything can arise into our third eye and bring us wisdom. We're activating the pineal gland, and we're seeing the periphery from over here. So when we go into that space, we get in touch with this wisdom and with this other way of seeing, with our spiritual side, instead of, seeing from our ego, seeing from our intellect. So I encourage you to go back in here and see with what you can feel, that intuitive side of you, okay? So we also make a commitment to heal as a soul contract, the commitment to heal. So we're bringing that back in right now, and we're going to put that right down here in our third chakra, okay? And that is the space. I'm going to stand up right here, okay? That space above our belly button, underneath our diaphragm, our solar plexus, third chakra there. So right inside of that space today, make the commitment to heal from your soul as a soul contract to yourself. Part of that is building worthiness, and that's all part of that third chakra. And then we abide by the 4 agreements, and I'm using that as a quick shortcut to kind of, framework everything else. So not taking anything personal. Today, it's really important that we don't necessarily do this work from an emotional place. And that's another piece of taking the intellect out. So when we're here, we're going to keep reacting. Okay, so we're back here and we're going to try to hold ourselves in this sacred space where we're not emotionally reacting to things. No assumptions based on old beliefs. So we're consciously bringing up this idea that we're going to shed any old beliefs that no longer serve us. We're going to look at that raw truth, and that's being impeccable with our word, that raw truth. As much as we can remove our own bias, our own veil of perception to the best of our ability to really look at that raw truth. And that helps us shed all of the archetypes and, kind of stories we've been weaving in our heads. And then to bring a pure heart with pure intention, okay? This neutralizes the ego and the self-judgment. So we bring the pure heart. So go ahead and just take a deep breath, settle down in your seat. And without even needing to remember everything I just said, just pull it down into yourself with your breath and agree that this is the sacred space that you want to open in your heart today so that you can move into a place of greater transformation for yourself. All right? Okay. Yellow. I'm wearing yellow today. Yellow is our color of the third chakra, our solar plexus. Think of it like the sun in your belly. Okay, that chakra is like a big sun. It's also our warrior space. So if you study any sort of martial arts, this solar plexus is a really important space. It's the gravitational center in our bodies. You pay a lot of attention there. When I studied martial arts, this was a big center for us. And no matter what type of martial arts you're looking at, this is an important warrior center. It's a place that is a target if you're in combat. It's a place that you want to protect. And it's also a place you move from because it gives you balance and it gives you power. So it's where your personal power resides, okay? That's a tricky one if it falls out of balance the easiest, because that's where we want to stay the strongest. But we have so many different stories running up in here. So pull back here as we kind of explore this area. This is also the place that we ignite our fire, which is that warrior spirit, and that ignites our digestion. So we're connected to the digestive system here and the stomach and the abs. So when we're out of balance, it can mean diabetes, it can mean indigestion, different kinds of eating disorders. It's also identity issues, which totally makes sense. Social identity can get tied in here, coming up from the second chakra. And we can respond here with fear, shame, anxiety, self-judgment, and that eventually drops down through our second chakra and our first chakra and causes dysfunctions with being able to feel like you belong, being able to feel like you're worthy. You see how all of that kind of comes together. We've explored that tribal, that one-on-one, and what we're doing here so much affects the way we are in the world. So this centerpiece, whew. Just bring the love into that space right now, okay? So that sacred truth is to honor oneself. And so as you breathe into that chakra space, breathe in honoring oneself. Breathe in worthiness. Breathe in personal power and sacred connection. Breathe in personal responsibility. All of these things are what generate and continue to spin like a sun inside of you. That's like your place you generate all of your power and your energy from for yourself. That's where that space is. So just breathe in love to that space, okay, into your inner warrior, so that you can bring the self-transformation that you want. And that self-transformation is this gift once we clear out the debris of authenticity and a genuine connection with the divine, recognizing how you are that unique reflection. Unique as in you can only be you, but a reflection of the divine is truly in you, and it's in all of us. And so that does bring the oneness back around. So how do we get tripped up here? What is it that, brings our dysfunction? How does that look in life? When we lack willpower, when we lack personal responsibility, when our integrity is on the line, when we don't have the endurance that we want, all of these things reflect back to that third chakra. And so when we see those things in ourselves, they show up a lot like the integrity piece and the honor that goes with that is something that kind of sneaks under the radar. Okay, it's something that gets into our subconscious. And so I just want to pull that out for us today so we can kind of look at it so that when it sneaks up again, we see it and we can use our minds to see it and then pull it back here where we can breathe into it and let it realign without struggling with it, okay? So that honor code that you have, the integrity that you have, that subconscious wave that it brings in, the undertow of that, can look a lot like, oh, well, I am very generous. I'm very giving. I have a good heart. I'm a good person. And the question is, do you have good boundaries? Are you able to say no for yourself? Are you able to say yes to yourself? Sometimes that's the way it shows up out of balance. Sometimes it looks more like, do you need other people? Do you need to feel needed by other people? Do you feel victimized by other people? Or do you find yourself in kind of a subconscious way even manipulating other people? Not with a negative intention. Your intention might be positive, but sometimes we pull these, cords out and hook into other people to get what we need on a survivalistic level. Do we need attention? How are we going to get that? And are we manipulating it instead of in a healthy way learning boundaries and knowing how to ask for it and how to give it to ourselves? So that's one way that we can oftentimes be out of balance with this in a way that we don't necessarily recognize or see. And we wonder, why are our relationships, constantly falling apart? Or why am I always suffering? Because I keep helping this person, but it doesn't actually help them. And those are boundary issues, and those are third chakra issues. When you try to help people who also don't have good alignment there, who don't have good boundaries, is their personal power intact to actually use what you're giving them, your own personal power that you're giving out from there? Are they somebody that can be responsible with it? See, sometimes we have people in our lives who may not have it together. They don't have their shit together. It's just the way it is. They may be addicts. They may have a lack of self-esteem. For whatever their story is, it's their story, but they can't be responsible with your personal power because they don't know how to balance their own yet. And that's their karma. And we can help them. But if we give them our personal power, if we give it all away and we're surprised when they're not responsible with it, and then we feel hurt and then we suffer, this is where we have lacked the personal boundary in the first place to know what's healthy for us as well as the other person. It's a lot of pressure when somebody gives you a whole lot of help and you don't actually have the tools to know how to use that help. And so you see, there can be better balances for ourselves and for others when we know how to control our own personal energy, when we have good boundaries for ourselves, when we know how to take responsibility with the energy that we cultivate inside of ourselves. And that gives us better integrity. That gives us better worthiness. So we also go into this idea where sometimes we can have trouble when we have broken our own promises to ourselves. So, you know what? I'm going to start eating healthy, or I'm going to start a diet, or I'm going to start working out, or I'm going to look for another job. I'm going to. We see and feel this change that needs to happen, a new boundary that needs to be put in place. And then it gets dropped into our second chakra and our first chakra, and we break the contract with ourselves. And what that does is it damages the third chakra. So somehow we don't follow through for whatever reason. And we find excuses and reasons, and this just didn't come into place, and this just didn't come into place. It's okay that those things didn't come into place. But when we tell ourselves the story, when we get into the story and say, well, it's because that didn't happen, it's because that didn't happen, when really our own inner power knows we broke a contract with ourselves. And that damages our worthiness, that damages our self-esteem, that damages our own integrity with ourselves. You see how this third chakra can just get so out of whack so easily? It's the easiest one to throw out of whack because we are the ones that do it right here. So in that situation, when something doesn't happen, rather than excusing it and spinning some sort of story that we manipulate ourselves with, look at the raw truth of it and say, okay, that didn't happen. I'm going to renew my sacred contract with myself, and here's the new plan. And follow through. Follow through because you're worth it. Follow through to build your own self-love. Follow through as if you made that promise to God because you did. That is where we see that sacred place for ourselves. And when we move into the world with that kind of power and belief and integrity in ourselves, we can truly reflect the divine for other people, model it, have healthier relationships, demonstrate what healthy boundaries are. That's what comes forward when we get to a place of balance here. So it's unblocking. We don't want to block ourselves with shame. And shame is one of the real big things with this third chakra, right? We're ashamed of ourselves somehow. So ask yourself, what is it that I find shame in? Is it not following through with things? Is it not being available to people, not saying no enough? Where is it? Start with the obvious stuff. But in this contract you've entered into to self-transform, let it sink in deeper and just see it. Just allow yourself to see it. We don't need to have emotion about it. Just see it, okay? And then put it back here to let it dissipate. See, we are stripping away the parts of ourselves that aren't actually us. That's what this is all about. Because what is truly us is what we're trying to get in touch with. Everything we need to strip away are learned behaviors. Most of us are in survival mode. especially right now with everything going on. Most of us are in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode and our parasympathetic, sympathetic nervous system keeps getting thrown around, what happens is, we create any story we can in our head and believe it so that we can just keep living with ourselves, so we can just keep going. And that's where a lot of people are at. But you're here right now. Whenever right now is, you're listening to this and you're seeking something. You're trying to awaken something deeper in yourself. You're trying to transform yourself on some level. And so I am doing the work here as literally a reflection of your own wisdom. This isn't anything new to you. I'm just awakening it again for you. So really look at yourself with that kind of truth and love, so that you can see it all without judgment and let it fall away. That's the work, is just letting it fall away. And then you get to step into that lighter space, literally and figuratively, that lighter space, that higher vibration of who you truly are when you take the armor off. We get so ingrained thinking that these self-defense mechanisms are actually serving us. And in a moment of trauma, they do. I don't want to take away from that. They do in a moment of trauma. But we're not meant to live with our trauma. We're not meant to live forever with our wounds. We take our trauma, we see a wound, and then we become kind of like woundologists. We just kind of keep working that wound, keep working it. We find that pain can pay off, right? If I'm a victim or if I'm suffering, this is a way that people can understand me, can align with me. I can feed my ego so much with this. And in the third chakra, one of the dangers with the ego is righteousness. So the other side of this is righteousness. So do you find places? I do. I do. Do you find places in yourself where you feel pretty righteous? You feel pretty right, full of rightness, that I'm entitled to feel this way. I know what I'm talking about. I am the expert in this. And that's the ego trying to fill in this big space of personal power in the third chakra. It's almost as if you have this inherited royalty. And sometimes you feel like you've earned it. Okay, but look at that really closely. Because when we have righteousness as armor, it, number one, blocks a lot of people out from us, actually. Keeps you safe, but keeps you safe from the good stuff too. And it blocks us from being able to get into who we truly are. It becomes a smoke screen, another layer of armor, and it's heavy. Righteousness is really heavy. So be careful with that. Taking that armor off and putting it down and recognizing that you aren't the armor. You aren't the tin suit. You're this divine space inside. You are the face of God. You are the face of love. You are the one to discover yourself. And this is the journey. This is the important part. Not whether or not you succeed and you reach your goals and everything else, but if you're on a spiritual journey, it's the uncovering of your true spirit, of the divine. And the work in the third chakra is loving yourself, being full of the integrity and the authenticity that you were originally created with, not shadowed by anything in your cognitive mind, in your emotional space, or, the ego judgment. When darkness shows itself, in a way that alters how you see yourself, it really twists our perception. And it can twist it to the degree that we cannot even see it, okay? We really see something else. And we live in that space for a long time. I've had that experience myself. Of course, I'm going through this with you. I'm uncovering things as I prepare for these talks and for the weeks after. And so, you know, as the light comes in, as we intentionally invite the light in, and the darkness starts to dissipate and we see what's in the shadows, this is where there's courage needed. Courage needed to really look at that and embrace it, not judge it. And I've had those moments of feeling like, oh my gosh, how did I not see this? And you're seeing it now. And there's the part to stay focused on. You're seeing it now. Breathe into it, breathe out. Pull it into your cerebellum. Hold gratitude for being able to see it. Allow it to dissipate. So get rid of the procrastination and the self-judgment and the manipulation. It's subtle and it's there. See it. See it and bring light to it. Carolyn May says, forgiveness is an unreasonable, mystical act of the soul that disempowers your wounds. So when we can't just jump right into that sacred release and we need to work with something, forgiveness is the thing we work with. We work with it in all the chakras, okay? But it is a very potent, important healing tool that needs to be applied to yourself. Oftentimes what we uncover in this third chakra is that we've hurt other people unknowingly, unintentionally, but we've done harm somehow. Understand that that's all in the medicine wheel. It's all part of the mandala. It's all part of the karmic unfolding. Don't attach to that. Work with it. Breathe forgiveness into it. An unreasonable, mystical act that is so necessary. So necessary. Bring that forgiveness to others, to yourself. And that's what we're working with right now, that raw truth of seeing things and being able to be forgiving. These wounds give us this opportunity to really enhance and build our character and transform the karma, move us through the medicine wheel more, okay? So we want to focus on how this transformation brings self-empowerment, not disempowerment. So when you start having the disempowering thoughts, we want to invite in the self-empowering thoughts. And we can do that with chanting. We can do it with the colors we wear, what we see around us. I have even a yellow flower on the altar today. So surround yourself with the colors you need. There are stones. Again, I encourage you when you need to kind of get more into the tangible about each chakra, jump online. There's tons of information. And all of that's available to work with, okay? But right here, right now, we want to get even higher above that. We're not going to play with the mind. We wanted to pull it up and see it. And now I want to go into meditation and learn how to work with this in that sacred contract that we're making with ourselves to heal, okay? So if you're interested in a mudra, what you want to do with your hands, there's a couple different mudras for the third chakra, but I think the easiest one to show online and teach is called the Hakini mudra. And what you do is you bring all your fingers together, okay? And then you spread them apart just so that the tips are touching, You drop the pinkies and the thumbs so they're essentially in line with each other. And then you hold this right in front of the third chakra. Okay, so essentially, you know, my middle finger is kind of touching where my sternum would be. And my thumb and pinky are a little bit above my belly button. Okay, and so I'm going to hold that mudra there if that's comfortable for you. If it's not, just open your hands. But when we chant, to have open hands allows our energy centers in our palms to receive more energy and to intensify the energy that we're running through our bodies with these chants, okay? So take a deep breath in and out. Close your eyes. The chant we're going to use is Ram. So we're going to do Ram Om, and we're going to take our head left to right again, like Dr. Goodall taught us. This helps to really bring the energy of release into our bodies on a cellular level in the tissues of our body, and really transform things in a deep spiritual level, at that soul contract way that we want to do this. So get settled in your seat. Plant your feet firmly and breathe. Take your breath down through your legs, through your feet, so that you're rooting down into the earth energy with that first chakra. So we're lining up that first chakra. Some deep breaths through the root chakra, through our legs, down into the earth, being fully connected. Now bringing your attention to the second chakra, a few fingers down below the belly button in the pelvic girdle. Breathing into it. You can picture the color orange if you'd like. And just having the intention of opening that up to align with the first chakra, so that everything that needs to be let go of can go right through our legs down into Mother Earth. And now the energy up into your solar plexus. That sun in the center of yourself, that warrior space, that place of self-reflection, authenticity, worthiness. And I'm going to ask you to just hold your attention and intention and your breath in that center space of the third chakra. And as we breathe into it and chant, picture it as a sun rotating. And honestly, it doesn't matter which direction you're picturing the rotation. Just picture it rotating inside of yourself. And as you chant, picture the rays of that sun getting stronger and broader outside of yourself, energizing yourself upward and downward from the middle, okay? So we're going to do Ram Om. Ram Om, 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 it down into your center. Ram, Ram, Om, Om. One more Om. Just feel that vibration. Work with it with your intention, just pulling the sound waves with the light waves through your body. Feeling that connect up into your head, into your cerebellum, and going right out the top, right down through your feet. Feeling how your breath can be deeper, broader, opened up. Just draw in a deep breath and hold it, expand your torso as much as possible and hold it for a moment. And then exhale. And as you go back into a normal breathing pattern, just feel how that's a little more expanded, a little more open. And just settle in and feel the changes in your body now. And with this openness, feel the lightness. Feel how full of light you are. The light of the divine. The light of your authenticity without as much baggage. Shutting off that which no longer serves you. And just truly being into the closer vibration of your highest self. Very authentically. Very worthy of this lightness. Thich Nhat Hanh said that spiritual practice is not just sitting in meditation. Practice is looking, thinking, touching, drinking, eating, and talking. Every act, every breath, and every step can be practice and can help us to become more ourselves. Thank you, Thich Nhat Hanh. Because that's where we're trying to strive to be, and just open up and just authentically be us. It doesn't need to be a struggle, just allow it. This is the journey. This is our treasure. This is it. It's the discovery of yourself and the mystery of oneness as a unique expression of the divine, the great light. I honor each of you. Lori and John, I would love your next song here.
I am light, I am light. I am light, I am light. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I am light. I am not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on my outside. I am not my age. I'm not my race. My soul inside is all light. It's all light. It's all light. All light. I am 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 divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Wow. Woo. Perfect. Like we couldn't have planned all this messaging any better. What a gorgeous song for this. I hope you all really breathe that in. So the ancestors are telling me it's time to smudge again for our final blessing. This is one of my favorite prayers. It's not always appropriate, but today I think it's perfect. O great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the wind, whose breath gives life to all the world, hear me. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect the things you have made and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things you have taught my people. Hear me to remain calm and strong in the face of all that comes toward me. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. Help me seek pure thoughts and act with the intention of helping others. Help me find compassion without empathy overwhelming me. I seek strength not to be greater than my brother or sister, but to find my greatest enemy. But to fight my greatest enemy, myself, and to find myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes, so when life fades as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Aho. Thank you for joining us today. Melinda?
Thank you, Deb, for a wonderful talk today, and thank you all for joining us today. We want to hear your suggestions on any topics that you would like to hear a talk on. If you would like to have a class that you're interested in, or a workshop, a book study, or maybe a meetup, we can do that here virtually. Please email me at angelslandingspiritualcenter@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your love offerings that help to support us to continue our operations. You can make donations through our website at www.angelslandingspiritualcenter.com through PayPal, or you can send checks either to my address or to 2400 North Reynolds Road, Toledo, Ohio 43615. We're going to take a quick break, I believe, and then stay to talk.
Do you want to do Let There Be Peace?
Sure, we would love to.
Let's do that.
That's the wrong one, isn't it?
No, that's right. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator